And that's always a good sign that they've bought into the whole process, as opposed to being, well, we're the customers. They were part of the solution. And so that was the moment where I knew we were going to be successful.
Please introduce yourself and your business with a few words about what your business does.
Mike Roby. I'm the Senior Director of Information Technology here at the American Academy of Otolaryngology, Head and Neck Surgery. We are a medical society. Our members are ear, nose, and throat physicians. And so we provide them support so they can provide the best patient care. Prior to joining my organization, I was with a major trade association for almost 22 years. That association had approximately 250 employees at the time, and we had used TeraTech for our ColdFusion development at the trade association.
Can you tell me about the specific problem you were looking to solve that led you to discover TeraTech?
The biggest issue we had was with the stakeholders themselves, the internal stakeholders, who were moving from a very manual, paper-based system or process, if you will, into something that could be more automated. And the challenge was to get the stakeholders to understand that some of the ways that they were doing business needed to change in an automated world. It's always been easier to program binary decisions, and some of their decisions were somewhat fuzzy. So they had to change how they processed or went about doing their work as part of that automation. So a lot of their business processes had to be completely redesigned. They would no longer be able to do things the way they had traditionally done in a manual system.
Thinking back to before this program was written, what were the main pain points of not having a solution to this problem?
Well, the pain points were the customers didn't quite, they had no visibility. Stakeholders or the internal users really didn't have a whole lot of visibility either in the total picture. So that was probably the biggest pain point.
Did you try or consider any other options before you went with TeraTech?
Tried a number of different developers or more, programming houses, people who could code. Really needed to have a combination of a business analyst as well as people who could code the solution in order to come up with a more holistic solution to the problem. So many of these types of problems are not a coding issue. They're more of understanding or getting a business analyst to understand what the issue really is, how it can be redesigned so that then requirements can be passed on to the technologists or the programmers for actual implementation.
At the point you decided to work with TeraTech, what were the specific doubts or concerns you had about going ahead?
Probably just the main concern was the ability to interact with the stakeholders, understand what their needs were, and to bridge that gap with the coders who would actually write the solution. Getting that piece was paramount in the success, and they were able to step up and provide that filter between what the end users thought they wanted and to develop what they really did need.
Can you describe the specific moment you realized TeraTech was working really well for your organization?
When the end users start to refer to the effort as theirs, so they start taking ownership of the solution. And when that moment happened, then I knew that we were successful and that the solution that being developed and ultimately delivered was going to be successful because the stakeholders started to possess it or reference it as theirs. So they took ownership, and that's always a good sign that they've bought into the whole process, as opposed to being, well, we're the customers. They were part of the solution. And so that was the moment where I knew we were going to be successful.
Is there anything else about working with TeraTech that we haven't covered that you'd like to share, or even anything that we have covered that you'd like to expand on more?
I was impressed with the modernization efforts and weaving in some of the newer techniques, the ability to push code, have a code repository, the understanding of having the different environments for testing, the need for security, wrapping that up into ColdFusion as a development language, becoming more of a robust platform. And so I was impressed with that because it says, continuing to grow the effort, which was good to see. I mean, right now we are dealing primarily in either Drupal or WordPress using PHP. Not that that's any better or different. It's just different. But some of those techniques we are using have deployed, and so I think a lot of some of the things coming out of the text are more generic. And as a CIO, I have a tendency to gravitate to the more generic aspects as opposed to specific technologies. I don't necessarily fall in love with a specific technology tool because I think, and again, they're all tools. My job is to figure out what is the right tool to resolve an issue, understanding that the particular solution needs to plug in to the technical architecture that's already in place.
Why ColdFusion was the right tool back in that previous organization?
And we had been using a lot of our web development was already in ColdFusion at the time, so it made sense to continue on with that. Had we been using some other programming language or environment, then that decision might have been different. So it's kind of a balance between what's already in place, what's going to resolve the issue, and sustain the environment. So it's a vertical alignment from understanding your business processes to fitting the technology solutions to support your business processes in a more holistic view. So that's kind of my job, is to manage complexity.
What would you say to anyone sat on the fence right now, not sure whether to work with TeraTech?
Well, I guess my advice would be what I would give to anybody contemplating a new partner would be to do your due diligence, but then at the end engage in a small engagement and incrementally work your way up. You might be able to split if it's a very large engagement that you're contemplating. You could probably split it up into smaller phases and then use that as a test and see how that goes. It's sort of the carrot and stick type of approach, but I think it's more realistic to think about large projects and incrementally, and that's what my advice would be. If I just want to comment on my earlier term, partner. because I think that anybody that I happen to do business with would be a partner. They're not really a customer client or customer vendor relationship, but more of a partner, because there potentially would be a long-term relationship with the new organization, and you want somebody that would be a good partner for you to continue to do business with and continue to be successful with.